call this meeting of the General Government and Public Safety Committee to order. Attendance has been taken. If you would stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're at long meeting.
Moving on, we have comments from citizens. Hearing and seeing none, I'll move on. General Government and Finance, Economic Development, the credit report. I know from our last meeting, those of you who aren't aware, Barry had resigned the presidency of Credit, and the nomination committee was created, and they'll be nominating 2 candidates to replace Barry on the board, and that meeting has not occurred yet. It's scheduled for the 17th.
It's gonna take 2 people to replace him?
No, it's just the bylaws require that there'll be at least 2 positions for every open seat.
Okay.
And that meeting's not occurred yet.
And I have not received any minutes from the last meeting.
Yeah, I hadn't either, so.
I suspect I will eventually get them, and/or we will pass them along as I attend the meeting. I'll bring them and I'll put them in the packet.
Moving on to Park Board. Looks like we have an agenda in our packet. And the meeting minutes for the last meeting. Any questions? Hearing none, moving on. Cemetery report. I don't see one in the packet. Anything to report?
No.
All right. Moving on to Tree Board. I don't see anything in the packet. Anything to report?
No.
Library Board. Information's in your packet of their past meeting. And looks like the agenda for their upcoming meeting. Any questions? Hearing none, moving on. August financial statements. You can find that information in your packet. You can note that they are preliminary, and not reviewed by the city treasurer.
He was working on it all day today, but I don't think he quite got it.
He hasn't resigned yet, has he?
Huh?
Okay. He resigned from Quantas treasurer
Really?
after 28 years.
Wow.
Okay, well, I've discussed that, and I don't think there's anything on the horizon.
Okay. I didn't think he was gonna resign this one at this point.
There's a lot to do, but it's really only one day a month.
Any other questions about August financial statements? Hearing none, moving on. Bills over $1,250. If you look at your packet that was up on your desk, it looks like an amended copy.
Oh, we have a few things.
Yeah. Some big things.
Trying held off until she could get, the last minute bills for power.
That's the, I should use that one. The warehouse, I think 2 warehouses. 2 warehouses?
It is now, yeah. 2 warehouses plus I think a small auxiliary building. And that's separate from Midwest Timberfront, which is on the corner.
Any questions on the accounts payable? Hearing none, moving on to other general government. Audit contract proposal. You'll find it in your packet from Williams Keepers.
You heard the proposal from Heidi Chick, Williams Keepers, at the end of the last meeting when they presented the audit. Basically, they proposed a reset to go back to what they were charging 3 years ago and just start the cycle over again, which in this day and age is not a bad thing.
Well, I would suggest We are being an ordinance for this, aren't we?
Yes, you will.
I would suggest we put this on the agenda for next week,
Yeah, I agree.
but I won't be here. You guys do what you want.
Will you support it? I believe the mayor supports it also.
Yes, I believe so.
Yep, that's true. I do.
Any other questions or comments on the audit contract proposal? Hearing none, moving on to public safety, city prosecutor.
No report.
No report. Police department activity report. You find that information in your packet. Any questions or comments?
Looks like things keep out.
Yeah, exactly. I see you've had a long rest up there, Larry. Not much to do.
Thank you very kindly. It's nice to be noticed.
Moving on to expanding Interpol license agreement. The information's in your packet with the quote. Larry, would you like to speak to this?
Alderman Wilkins, I'd ask you to speak a little bit about it. As you know, when I speak about computers, I'm pretty much not where I need to be. This licensing agreement is through this Huber board to license the computers and to maintain the license of the computers of which we have. I don't always agree with all this funding that it takes just to
Right.
do a police report. However, that is the world in which we live. I don't have to like it, I just have to have functionality.
Sure. And it's certainly not uncommon from a business standpoint that software systems carry along with a subscription for maintenance and things like that. I mean, we are able to call them on things that are related specifically to their system for support, maintenance, that type of thing. They charge specifically with something over and above
Yes, sir.
what's covered in that baseline, but we do have to pay for that baseline.
Yes.
Along with that goes along with the actual licensing of the software. It is their software, it's part of their business plan. It is obviously they're making money off the fact that we are running it.
Yes, sir.
As opposed to you going to Walmart, buying something, installing it, you've done your one-time fee.
I think the reason this is here is to point out that it's been a continuing expense, and the only problem that showed up was they came and they did an audit of users, and they decided that every part-time officer and every part-time dispatcher would require a separate license, not FTEs or our old count.
Correct.
So, not only is our regular annual price gonna go up, but they would like back to basic.
Sounds like bacon plates.
Well,
Well,
it's not a lot.
well, part of their agreement with us is that we self-report. They are assuming and they are acting in good faith that we tell them when other things are going on. I mean, like another person's being added. So, in their defense, they're saying, well, we don't necessarily know when you've hired somebody.
Sure.
I counter a little bit with that because they also have to create the account.
Yes, sir.
So that to me should be their trigger. That, wait a minute, you must have hired somebody new. You're using another license. But that would simply mean that you'd have to have paid them.
Correct.
I mean, if they were going to enforce the terms of the agreement at that point. But the fact of you, hey, we need to create a new account, we just hired this new officer, and then they would have turned around immediately and said, okay, well, we need to readjust your bill.
Correct.
But they just failed to do that portion of it.
Yeah.
They should have.
That most of the time, since I've been chief, this is the way this comes to us.
I don't think that had the same sort of way of knowing when somebody's off account. In defense of the chief, FTEs are the same as when we started this.
Oh, absolutely, I'm not,
Yeah,
right, no,
right.
I'm
We're just
absolutely not.
replacing one full-time officer with a couple of part-time officers or dispatchers or whatever.
But they want to look at that as two separate licenses rather than,
They did, well, it's to their financial advantage.
well, yes, I understand. But I disagree with them on it.
It's two separate sign-ons, so for them, it's two separate accounts literally. Now, if you had a common generic part-time officer. But I mean, I'm sure legally you couldn't do that because you have to stipulate that this data was done by this person.
That wouldn't be the right thing.
It just kind of seems to me that they're kind of trying to stiff us on the cost of it.
You might be
It
on
can't,
something.
it can't be that much to add somebody to it, as what this is showing.
Well, I think Sergeant Bias did his best to argue with them about.
Yes, that, what you're seeing, I might add, is
This is-
substantially less
Yeah, this isn't
than
what
where
they
it
originally
started out.
charged, yeah.
I can tell you substantially less. What's the tariff on this?
Is this 5301,
Well, we owe,
or is this, is the difference what we're paying, 2641?
2641, I think. so.
that's the net increase for this year.
Yes,
And going forward, it's a net increase of $1,040.
1,040.
yes, sir. Going forward.
That's kind of what I thought. But that seems kind of stiff to be, when
No doubt about it.
when your part-time employees are accessing it seldom.
I wouldn't say seldom, but
But, I mean, they're not accessing it as much as a full-time person, so the charge for adding part-time people as if they were full-time people seems kind of stiff.
your premise is correct. I think that every time I submit that PO, I think
I mean, me, your part-time officers probably aren't even, well, some of them aren't even working 20 hours a week.
Well, some will go pay periods without working at all.
Yeah,
yes. Nature of the business.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there is no good substitute at the moment.
That is correct.
no, I understand that, and I'm not trying to say that we should do without it, but I'm certainly not happy with the price increase after the fact.
I think everyone in the room would be in agreement with you that.
I wish they had told us about this 2 years ago when
Pay the toll.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not speaking to their business practices.
Well,
it's just a surprise and we're reporting.
I'm assuming that this is going forward now, that we are not going
Yes.
and paying back.
Oh, no. We will get a bill for the 2,000 or something for what we should be paying. And the next time around, when it comes up for payment, it'll be 1,040 more than what we've been paying.
So it'll be 60.
Okay, but I mean, we only just started this last month or two.
No, this was their audit because we have users on the system that we haven't paid for.
We have not paid for.
So their point is because they did an actual audit, that's when they came to realize, wait a minute, you're not paying for the correct amount.
Right.
This goes back, could go back,
Almost.
basically to when we first started, which was back when our Bolton cop was on the force.
Right.
Yeah.
To the councilman here, and we got to this because several cities around us had adopted it, and it's the best thing.
So this one has been, this is not the program we just started on the.
No,
No,
It is
no, this is our record management system, our RMS. It works,
It's what the officers pull up when they put it
Yes.
out, sit down, write their reports.
yes.
Okay,
And you have to have a license of which to do that. Now, later, in a surprise development.
That's next.
I may talk to you about a part-time officer that I'm thinking about. What we're paying, that's already built into it. One's off, one off.
right. It's a total number of licenses,
Yes,
not
sir.
a person.
So, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I don't, we're not asking for any action, we're just informing you on this, but,
Yeah.
it caused the sergeant to, well, lieutenant,
Thank you.
sorry, to delve deeper for the next thing which was coming up. If you recall, we budgeted 6,000 for the maintenance contract on quarters. It doesn't come up every year, so have to kind of pull it out special to make sure it doesn't get lost like it did once. That was over $6,000 for the maintenance agreement. And there was a chance it would come up and be used because it has been used before, and that's why we entered into a long-term agreement. However, Well, what you're doing here is basically recording things on what's the glorified stack TV. And so that equipment has gotten considerably cheaper. Even in the last 3 or 4 years, it's gotten considerably cheaper. And Mr. Bias has located an alternative that by his mention here from Versatile, not only a replacement recorder is cheaper than the maintenance agreement on the old recorder, but the annual maintenance contract is $400 a year instead of $6,100 or whatever every 2 years. So we have the money in the budget to make this replacement already. And it's coming up to the time, in fact, it may have passed by a month of actually sending, is it Kelly? I'm trying to call the name of the company that provided the old one. But anyway, they've already been in touch with PD about, you're gonna send in the renewal. And Mr. Bias held them off until you could look at this.
Right.
It would take a couple weeks, 3 or 4 weeks before the new equipment would be in
Yes.
and installed, and people will be shown how to use it.
Yes, sir.
Larry, I wanted to clarify something. Looking at the scope of the project, I see 4 analog trunk lines for phones and 2 radio base stations for
Yes.
recording radio.
Yes.
Does this not record the video cameras?
No, it does not.
Okay.
This is only audio that comes into the,
Okay.
that system you're looking at is certainly capable of that. However,
That would be extra cost.
it could be, this Patriot system we have there, that was given to us, loaned us through 911, through joint.
That's doing the cameras.
No,
What is doing the cameras?
that DVR you see underneath, if you're looking at dispatch, that DVR underneath there, this has nothing to do with the cameras. I'm good there.
We're not paying a maintenance agreement on that?
We are not, remember, that was, no, that was Lance, Cooley. Yeah, Lance Cooley put those in for us, and if that DVR goes down, get a record in there.
And then I had a conversation earlier, that's why I
Yes,
was
sir.
sorry.
I thought that all the cameras in the police department kind of use the same system.
But the
We do,
contract,
but this has nothing to do with the camera, sir.
Okay.
but the contract we have now is $6,100 a year. for
That's maintenance, it's not the actual
Maintenance.
device even.
Correct.
You could go on.
So, and this new one is $5,558 for the equipment, and then $400 a year?
Yes, sir.
Well, the reason they're charging us.
I'm kind of in favor of changing.
Well, the reason obviously they're charging that is because of the age of the system.
Just the age of the equipment.
The ability for them to repair or replace what we have, which of course they'd be on the hook for if we entered into this agreement, that's why they've wrapped us.
Okay,
Yes.
so what would they charge if we replaced their equipment, or the equipment that we have?
I must tell you, I didn't even look.
But I mean, I like the idea of $400 a year.
Once I saw this maintenance agreement for what we had, which is 2006 technology, what I did, the only thing I know to do, Bob, get on the internet and find a system, period.
Yeah.
We're not doing it.
I can't help but think that there's something we're missing, that's a way big discrepancy.
No, we're not missing anything.
No, I mean, same thing happens in computer servers. The longer I keep
So,
this.
okay, then why, like the company that we're dealing with now,
Yes.
should we not give them the opportunity to bid upgraded equipment and changing their service agreement?
You could do that, but I think you're asking for twice the amount of money. The reason why we're doing what we're doing is, for what Lynn had in the budget, this new piece of machinery, we think will take us into the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, versus trying to replace what's in there through the company and paying, no telling what. If we're having to pay $6,000 just for maintenance, what do you think the cost of new is gonna be versus this?
I think
Well, I think John's
the equipment
point-
originally was about,
I think John's point is have we even given them the opportunity to, okay, we've gone out for quotes to replace this entire system. do you have something that you would like to, I mean, just to get a comparable price? Is I think what John.
Well, it would be interesting to see what a comparable price would be.
Do we know of anybody that's on this system?
Yes.
And they have no complaints, no
complaints,
concerns?
no. It's more user friendly, it's web-based, that's what attracted us to it, it's web-based.
Okay, so you aren't buying near the hardware to have on site, is what you're saying, it's a cloud-based?
Yes, sir, and that's a pretty big step for
That
a
makes
guy
a
my
difference.
age to understand it. But it's web-based, and, but it's less moving parts.
I get it, that explains the
Yes, less
discrepancy
moving
now.
parts, and we can do this, take us in the next, well, it'll take this cat right on out of here. The next 5 or 6 years versus throwing out $2,500 for what?
Yeah. Well, I agree. Okay.
And you just have to have those recorders on those phones.
Lynn, can you have that as an
You just
ordinance?
can't do that.
For the next meeting? We'll have it as an ordinance.
I appreciate it, thank you, sir.
Next is presentation on automated speed enforcement.
I'm going to introduce to you Mr. John Bain. I met him down at the Missouri Police Chief's thing. All I ask is that we listen and try to think if this is something that we may or may not be interested in for Centralia. Okay?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. May I pass these out to you guys? Thank you, sir. Make this easier on me. I'm gonna ask you to pass them down. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I need a copy for him too. He's on mine. So, Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for allowing me to come talk to you. My name is John Bain. I am the fortunate or unfortunate person who has brought automated speed enforcement to the great state of Missouri. I'm a St. Louis resident, had to avoid going to Mizzou because I wasn't accepted, so I went to the University of Arizona in Tucson. So, yeah, a little bit better. I did meet the good chief down at the Chiefs meeting. It was my 5th meeting. And we have, just as we were talking about the web-based process, we have, over the last 5 years, changed the technology. And part of the change in technology also is the type of contract that I'm asking you all to consider when implementing this program. My target area for speed enforcement is school zones. That is where I would like the city to begin considering using this equipment. Then, as a secondary matter, we would, as I told the chief, look at providing a vehicle to the police department for their use. We would help outfit it with the proper police gear so that this car was a true enforcement vehicle, not just a picture taker. And we would also pay for the officer's time that sat in the vehicle. So this would have no negative impact cost to the city, including no maintenance costs. So if this machine broke down, didn't work, the city has no cost. We insure it, we provide the vehicle. The only thing that we require of the city is a safe place to store the replacement batteries. And as I learned, unfortunately, in this process, these big 75-pound boat batteries drain real fast when they're sitting on the concrete. I didn't know that. So in case you have big batteries, keep them on wood or something. Anyway, part of in that packet that I just handed out, this little flyer shows you the 3 types of product that we can provide. A box which looks like this. This is what is currently in St. Louis. I have 7 of these distributed throughout St. Louis, and it stands 48 inches tall. It does not block the view of drivers and or pedestrians, so it's not offset danger to the children as they walk through or by a school zone. These things are not permanent. They do not tie into the utilities. This box, fully loaded with its batteries, weighs about 1,400 pounds. We will move it, we will set it up with the police department. They will say we would like it here, 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 wherever that is. we will place it. That is not a concrete pad, that is a concrete tile. We move the tile, the cabinets sit on top of that tile, and it's a breakaway tile. So if somebody hits it, slides right off. But the tile is there also to make sure that somebody doesn't use this as a decoration for their fish tank to sit on or something. So this is a automated system. Every time a violator would go by this system, a picture is taken if that person is doing X over the speed limit. X is a factor set by the police department. Generally speaking, in most of my school zones, it is 7 to 10 is a $50 to $70 fine. 10 and above is a $100 to $125 fine. And 20 and above is generally a $200 fine. That's a guideline. It's not a request of what the fine should be. It follows pretty close to the uniform ticket book. One of the important things that I have had the pleasure of doing is upsetting the legislators in Jeff City just a little bit and MoDOT. And so just recently, as effective August 28th, they went from the 35% rule to the 30% rule, where it says that it used to be called the Max Creek rule. I don't know if you're familiar with that. But Max Creek was a small town that had like 4 buildings down by Lake of the Ozarks, and they wrote 200 million tickets and people got upset, so they passed a law. Well, what I'm asking you to do in the proposal that I've set forth to the chief and to the good city administrator and the mayor is take a look at an ordinance for a violation of public safety. This is not a moving violation, therefore it's not part of the uniform ticket book, and it does not require points to be added to the violation. The way we are handling the follow-up prosecution of these is after 64 days, generally speaking, what happens is the people either refuse to appear and or pay, and we send them a notice through, in St. Louis it's Tyler or Regis or Inlets, one of those court systems that works there, and they are told to appear. If they fail to appear, the possibility of a warrant being issued for failure to appear would happen. The reason is this is an ordinance violation. It's no different than your dog off a chain, grass too high, trash in the yard, those types of things. This is a public safety violation. It has a life in the state of Missouri of 12 months and a day. If you go with the the prosecution portion of this, it moves it then from an ordinance violation to a failure to appear, which changes its nature and how the prosecutor can handle it. And you don't lose the life, and you can add court costs at that point to the process. Going back to what I was talking about, the 30 and the 35% rule, the Creek Court case for red light cameras stipulated that a car in an intersection, placed in an intersection, at any time after the light turns red, it doesn't have to be moving, it's improperly placed. That's what our Missouri Supreme Court said. What we have taken from that in our sample ordinance that I'm asking you to consider and pass is that that vehicle is not speeding. That vehicle is acting in a manner in which is unsafe to the general public for the driving conditions as set forth by the road capacities. Most roads in the state of Missouri, speed limits are set to reflect 80% of the capacity of that roadway. So if it says it's a 30-mile-an-hour roadway, the capacity speed is 36. So if you have somebody at 40 miles an hour, they clearly exceeded the safety capacity of that road. That is the logic and that is the force behind this. I know there's a lot of negative feelings about automated speed enforcement. That's why we constructed the ordinances and the contract to reflect a very simple outlook. We believe that if this works as effectively as it does, you get to put me out of business. What I'm saying to you is, in St. Anne, Missouri, very close to the airport, there's a street called Ashby Road and a middle school called Hake Middle School. When we started there 4 years ago, Hake Middle School had 800 violators a day doing more than 10 miles an hour over the speed limit in front of that school. Average speed was 44 miles an hour. They had an officer out there every single day school was in session trying to slow people down. It didn't work. We put up our cameras. That officer now is a school resource officer in the middle school and in the grade school, most importantly. Secondly, the number of speeders has dropped from 800 a day to between 20 and 30 a day. Very important. Secondly, the average speed, which was 44, now is below the posted speed limit of 20 miles an hour. It's 18.9 miles an hour and has remained consistently there for the 4 years that we've been in business with the city of Sandia. The effectiveness of this is a very good public safety tool. My agreement with the city is a gift. If you use it, you can have it. You need an ordinance to say it's a violation, but if you use this equipment 30 hours a week, and it's capable of working 24 hours a day, it uses an infrared flash, so it's not distracting to the eyes. I know there's not a red light camera in Centralia, but y'all have seen a red light camera, seen it pop. It's like a flash off a bad cell phone camera, and it's very distracting. This thing is infrared, it's invisible to the eye. It takes nighttime to light daylight. On top of this thing's a little white cap. That little white cap is a wireless monitor, so every one of the captures immediately gets sent to our computer, again, the cloud. It's web-based. And it's huge. When I started this company 5 years ago to what we're doing today, we bought $180,000 worth of computers to make all of this work. When we added this new equipment, we spent $6,000 in computers. It was unbelievable because of what the cloud can do for this. This is a very unique tool. It's a safety tool, and if the one in the vehicle, and one of the things I wanted to say about the one in the vehicle is that one of the great aspects we have in one of our cities is the chief set a policy. Anybody who is driving 10 to 15 miles over the speed limit, unless otherwise noticed that there's other things, that person just goes by. The camera does the enforcement. That allows his officers to look for aggressive driving, DWIs, DUIs, other things. So it becomes, again, a force multiplier. And because it's in a vehicle, that officer can step off and go pursue that person, pull them over, bring them to jail, and move on. We basically are turning over to these cities Ford F-150 King cabs with light bars in the front and rear. I don't know exactly. I used to call them when I worked at Custom twinkle lights for the headlights and the tail lights. So that's what we give, and then the radio would be the officer's handheld walkie-talkie system. So that's how we make contact. Again, that is my proposal. I'm open to any questions that you have. The handout that I gave you answers, those are the talking points. It answers a lot of the questions that people ask me. Please take a look at it. If you have any questions, my request is that the city take it under advisement, and if it works, I'd be honored to bring it out here into mid-Missouri and show it. We are active in St. Louis and on the west side of the state in Sugar Creek. It's on 291 highway in between Independence and Liberty, basically. Any questions?
I'm on pilot.
This is the mayor.
Yes, sir.
Couple questions. One is, how often is the unit calibrated? I know our officers, when they're on the road, they calibrate their radar equipment quite frequently.
Yes, sir. And first off, all the equipment is certified. The officers who would be in accordance with the IACP rules. That's number one. Number two, the officers who would operate this equipment would have to be certified as well. And then number three, one of the aspects of this equipment is that it has a self-testing program that will run through, and it will give you at the beginning of the shift and the end of the shift a calibration that says that the system is working accurately for the vehicle. And then for the one that stands alone on the side of the road, not in the MoDOT right of way, have to make that very clear. We have to do it on private property or city property. That one you can dial into at any time during the shift. Any certified officer of radar certification can dial in at any time, run a test, and have that calibrated at any time during their shift, 24 hours a day.
Okay. On another question, I got online a little bit today and was looking up some of the units. What is the, I guess, best thing to prevent for invalid tickets or something that might cause a mistake in inputting, or, for instance, one of the license plates had a digit off, and the person that wasn't driving the vehicle actually got the ticket. Is there any foul safe or something like that to prevent something like that from happening?
Well, in the 4 years I've done this, there are a lot of times that people have lent their car out to their friends, families, neighbors, whatever. And basically in the state of Missouri, liability resides with the owner of the vehicle, the registered owner. And so, I'm sorry?
Right, okay.
And so it just from a transfer of liability, which is what you're asking about, we will allow a transfer of liability if a person received the ticket, but they were at work and it was somebody they lent the car, we will transfer liability from person A to person B. That's allowable under the rules that we have worked out over the last 4 years.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I just want to verify, all of the monies that are gained by this,
I'm sorry, that's a good question.
yeah, because that's one of the,
It's money, I forgot about that. Basically, what happens is because we are giving you this and we are paying for the maintenance and the utility of the process, the city is going to get 60% of the gross fine, we get 40%. We collect all of the funds, and on or before the 10th of the new month, after the close of the previous month, we make sure that a check is present in either the city treasurer's hand, the chief's hand, the city administrator's hand, whoever's designated. And so it will be delivered at that time.
you may mention that the movement, you will come deliver, set up a pad. Okay, if we want to move it to a different location, does it also require your action?
We would prefer, because it's weight,
Sure. No, I
and,
understand.
and we have actually invented a couple devices that make it move real easily. And so basically the batteries inside cycle out every 12 to 18 days, depending on the luck of a battery. And so what we would do is any 12 or 18 day period, the chief or somebody would say, Mrs. Smith called up and said she has 100 cars a day speeding 90 miles an hour in front of her house. If you put a police car there, the one thing that is sure to happen is nobody will speed. But if you put this machine, does the city of Centralia have a smart trailer by chance?
No, they're talking about that thing we get from the sheriff's office from time to time.
Okay. Because one of the cities that we did, we're right now retrofitting their smart trailer because it flashes 25, 25, 25. And so that's coming as you're approaching, and as you leave it, our camera's on the other side saying, snap, you were speeding. So the answer to your question is it's easy to move, and it's a great road volume counter so that you know, you can show Mrs. Smith, well, you had 6 cars a day that went in front of your house, and the average speed in your 25 mile an hour street was 28 miles an hour.
Well, and where I'm going with my question is,
Okay.
for all of the requested moves, that is covered with the agreement. That is not at any charge to us or anything.
No cost.
So if we in 1 month have moved it 3 separate times,
Yes.
that is all covered in this agreement?
Yes.
Okay.
And you probably wouldn't want to move it 3
I'm
separate times.
I'm just pointing that out as a
Yes.
hypothetical.
There are no costs. I don't know, and I get asked this, and I'm really serious. There are no costs. Your only obligation is to allow its utility as a city. So the standalone is 30 hours per week. The vehicle, if I supply the vehicle, the fuel, the insurance, all that, pay for the officer, then what we ask is that you use it for 2 shifts a week at 30 hours. So first shift, second shift, first shift, third shift, whatever it is, but it comes to 30 hours. That's what we're looking for. So this becomes an additional patrol vehicle that does enforcement, and it allows the chief and the city to determine where they have needs. And at any time, as I was telling the chief earlier, the city of Berkeley sets it up and takes it down every year for school. That's it. They don't want it running in June through August. They don't want it running in December. They want it running when children are present. So we tailor this to meet your need. The difference is we think that, as I told Chief, I would rather have the city of Centralia be a happy former client than an angry current client. It doesn't do me any good.
Have you ever had cities that have signed up and then?
Dropped?
Yeah.
Yes, Graysville, Tennessee.
What were the reasons?
People got mad and they said,
I didn't see that.
I can't believe people get mad, and I can't believe that politicians fold to the will of the people. That's totally opposite what goes on. Totally opposite. But Graysville is over on the far east side of the state, and they are a small community with 20-mile-an-hour roads, and it made good sense to put it interior. Well, what they did is after they put the system interior, is they watched all the cars going to Knoxville that commuted going by, zoom, zoom, zoom. Chief took it out there, put it on the side of the road. All of a sudden, they had 1 million citations. Well, not really. They had just hundreds and hundreds of citations. And as soon as the newspaper reporter got it, then everybody got upset. And again, he called me up and said, "Can you come get it?" We were there in 2 days. We took it to the western side of the state where they had 1, gave them 2. So it just works. And my goal is if you all are happy, and it really is an effective police asset, it works to enhance public safety. If you agree with that, then when somebody comes here, they'll say, "Centralia, what do you think of the system?" That's the only way that I will grow. Now, and if the system is so effective that there are 0 and 0 and 0 and 0 captures, then we've done our job. And you say, "You know what? Take it away for a while, let's let the dust settle, and let's bring it back again." And that's what we can do. It's open-ended.
Yes, absolutely.
I did a double check, since we will have to report to the state starting next year with the audit. It's gotta be in the audit, what percentage of our revenue is derived from
Yeah.
fines in this nature. Our whole court system brings in a little more than 1% of general fund revenue. It's somewhere around 20,000 a year. And that's dogs and everything else as well as speeding tickets.
Yes, sir.
So there's not a lot of money here in Centralia by practice
Yes.
to justify this.
And the issue is again, it is not about the money. Because if it was about the money, I wouldn't be here. I'd be talking to cities around St. Louis or bigger populations, bigger traffic volumes. What it is about establishing what other tools can help to provide public safety. And if it does generate revenue, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But again, I'm not an attorney. I was raised by one. That's my qualification. It's like saying, my mother's a great cook, so obviously I can cook. Well, my dad tells me that's not true. And so and he tells me I don't cook very well, besides not being an attorney. So the key is that I have read the statute. These are not, by statute, this is not a statutory violation. And I would discuss it with the city attorney until we're tired of talking about it. But this is not a statutory violation. This is a violation of an ordinance. So this does not come as, and if you look at the new law, it says moving violation, speeding violation, those are the words they use. This is a violation, the way the ordinance is written is to talk about a violation of public safety. And public safety does not require the use of the uniform ticket book, which is reported to the Department of Revenue, and so on and so on and so on.
Questions, anyone?
I got a question. How many do you have out all over?
Right now, 11 of the new models, 8 of the old models, which was a trailer with a 18-foot pole on it. And so that's the change.
Did I understand correctly, you gave Lynn a copy of the sample ordinance?
Yes. So, and my phone number's on almost everything, so if you have any questions, anybody, please feel free to give me a call. And at any time, I'd be glad to help. And again, you're gonna say, I don't believe you, but it really isn't about the money. It's about working, showing how public safety works, and if it gives you the satisfaction, gives the chief peace of mind when they're dropping off and picking up the kids, it's a winner for everybody, and it allows us to track it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question for the chief. Have you got any place that you feel is a hot spot of blatant, I guess, public safety issue?
Nothing comes to mind right at this moment, right on the heels of your question. I suppose that you could always find places of concern around schools. I think that's ongoing.
Okay.
I'm not afraid of finding a place to put it.
Thanks again, chief.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Yourself.
Have a safe trip.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
Right in front of-
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
I think outside Columbia.
I still think it's a money thing. You can't tell me somebody's gonna give you a truck, a machine, and all that, and not one.
He might be in the proving stage yet. I mean, he hasn't got that many out. He's just needing a place to put it.
Yeah.
To get some history and a track record.
He's got competition, this is the only one.
Yes, it's not the only thing out there. Anything else?
Well, what are your thoughts?
Well, I appreciate the fact that you brought him in here so that we could, have a look at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next time you're driving down the road and see a little white box.
I'll see you for a box.
We're gonna go out there with one of those Polaroids.
It would be
Is
the
there
desire of the
signage?
board that I
Along with these?
electronically distribute the contract.
I'd like to see it,
It's just a-
personally.
Phone,
I mean,
looks like a phone.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't like some of the speed limits we got now, and all I can see is this is gonna get 24.
so something that actually enforces you
Cap-
actually
yes.
drive the speed limit?
Yeah, I mean,
In our beloved community, it could be a point of
Finance is just
conversation.
fun over.
In our beloved community, it could be a point of conversation.
Well, if we were to focus specifically on the school zone, during school hours, do you have a problem with something that kind of enforces the issue or, presses the issue?
Where are you gonna put it though?
My biggest question would be, is it a problem in the school zones now?
Probably not while they're dropping kids off in the day, because cars are sitting. but-
The only problem I could see would be at the high school. Kids coming out of the parking lot. That would be my only place.
And probably sooner rather than later, whatever this is, I'm on the school board, but we are gonna, whoever we is, all of us, are gonna change that drop-off, pickup and drop-off for Chester Bourne.
I hate that.
The buses, I know, well.
We're just contrary to everything.
We're gonna, that's.
Hey, I'm trying to hold myself back. You have no idea.
You hate the current version or what?
I hate the current version. I don't know what you're thinking about doing, but I.
All the drop off and.
Middle school, yeah, it's terrible. I don't think anyone disagrees with that.
I guess I
If we
don't
can-
know what.
If we can come in off Rodemeyer, and I don't know how we get off on this problem. Come in off of Rodemeyer, and the buses will all pick up and dump off there, as will parents. That is part of the plan, to route them off of Jefferson. Now, before you say anything, Rome wasn't built in a day,
That's fine.
and we'll,
Well, I said something to my daughter about that, and she threatened me because that's where the buses drop. I wasn't to drive in there.
you might get that speech right now.
Nothing.
But at some point, there's gonna be, picture yourself riding in a bus, coming up to dump off there at Chester Board, okay, at the middle school. out here to the left, I'm gonna make a motor vehicle lane. That way, the buses are dumping off on that side thing. Now, that's awful big talk to me, I have no money invested, I've seen no plans, but that's the general talking I think. City administrator, I hate to loop him into my conspiracies, but, he was over there too and kinda looked at it and thought, might work. But,
Well, my personal opinion is anybody that drops kids off by stopping in the middle of Jefferson ought to get a ticket.
you could make that case, but you might be, it's easy for us.
That's an easy to do.
It also keeps traffic vehicles.
Yeah, you have to do it at
Well, it
elementary school
does.
too.
But they sit there and they take 5 minutes to unload sometimes.
Here's the difference, I think that Jefferson
The doors
and
open.
Lakeview are our main thoroughfares.
Yes.
They aren't secondary streets.
Correct.
That's the major difference, in my opinion.
Well, it didn't start out the way we are right now. I mean, it didn't, whenever Chesterborn started, whenever we started having kids, it didn't start out the way it is now. It's gotten easier as time goes along. Just dump the kids off. Use that crosswalk. That's not feeding the bulldog. So, at least that's what I think may or may not happen in the future. I got other things to talk about, yes.
If that happens in the future, isn't the city going to have to annex some land or whatever the right term is?
James, it's way too early to talk about that now. He knows.
You said yes.
Yeah, sorry.
That
I just talked about it.
Perfect. All right, moving on, fire department. Activity report, I believe you have it in the packet of information that was laid at your desk.
Yeah, why wasn't it in our packet?
We didn't get it until this morning. And
It's a volunteer.
Bill Miller was sitting at the computer that Phyllis does scanning in.
Volunteer.
Just giving me a hard time.
Just
Jeez.
tell me how it is.
Any questions on the activity report?
It still should have been, but the computer was in use.
Hearing none.
It's volunteer. I got it.
Moving on to other, fire department.
We are going to take 1102, which is the 86 model Ford, to Meyer Electric tomorrow to have them look at that transmission.
I was gonna ask you about that.
Yeah, we're gonna, and just let them get a preliminary what they think. Could be.
Meyer Electric?
Meyer Trucking.
Thank you, Wayne.
I got you.
Meyer Electric.
Here's a Meyer Electric.
You're friends now.
It's a
That
conglomerate.
might be afterwards. Yeah,
They
Meyer.
think a little electrical problem with the transmission. We're gonna take electrical
It
shock.
could be electric. We're thinking there's a clutch in that automatic transmission that is messing up. That's what it looks like. This, I got underneath one meeting last Thursday night. I watched it put it in gear. Yeah, it turns almost completely a revolution.
Transmission?
Yeah.
Oh, before it even
It's
gets.
not
Yeah.
right.
Well, I
I've
mean,
been doing that for years, though.
but you gotta realize, here you got almost a 30-year-old truck, 27 or so, with packing how much weight all the time and this and that.
Well, I know that I sometimes move slower as I get older.
That's so.
You want fire trucks to move slower.
But we'll see what it looks, you know, let them look at it before we, ain't no sense,
Whether you're just gonna computer it or,
Donnie's taking it tomorrow, and then they said they would take a look at it.
He's probably old enough, they don't have a computer you can look at.
Yeah, it wouldn't be computerized.
So,
Any,
they'll give us they're gonna give us a estimate what it will take to fix it. But I don't know nothing about transmission, I'm not a mechanic, I just do know that the drive shaft in there's spun quite a ways for it. But it's an automatic truck though, too, you know,
Yeah.
it takes off the drive, you know,
how many
sometimes.
miles are on that truck?
Not nearly as many as what.
Not that many.
Yeah,
I'd say-
they're all low miles.
No, I'd say this one, that's probably got 18,000 or so. Well, but it also racks miles up when it's pumping though, so really road miles probably. just seen it, get a report, I'll get it back to y'all. I have to figure out what I'm gonna do. Any questions, John?
None.
Okay.
Any other,
I have a couple things that I didn't get to mention.
That's all we got on the fire department, so we're back to normal pretty well.
good. Larry?
Sir. I spoke with the city administrator about this and spoke with the mayor. I may have spoken to somebody independently. It's time for us to, I don't know what the budgetary concerns are. It's time for us to look at the promotion of Joe Bellamy from that of corporal to sergeant. It's way past time for that. I don't know what the budgetary constraints are. City administrator knows about that, but it's just time. I don't recall all the process of which we have to do that, but the process seems pretty simple to me. I don't remember, I guess my question would be, do we have to do that by ordinance? We have an ordinance, right?
We have a personnel code, promotions. Basically, you have to be hashed out by the board and then implemented by ordinance because it's a pay raise.
Okay.
It's not already covered. I mean, we have longevity raises that are covered automatically in the
Yes.
code now. Promotions carry raises with them in this
Yes.
case. For a typical year, he didn't work a lot of overtime. He's looking at just short of $1,000 extra per year for that promotion. He goes from I-4 to K-4.
Really, with his time of service in?
Yeah, well, he went to 4 a few months ago.
Right. Okay.
I thought I checked.
I'm sure you did, I'm sure you're right, I know nothing about that.
I can double check it. In any case, there would be a fall, if you wanted to do this, then there would have to be a follow-up ordinance to implement it. We have a bias as now lieutenant, but we don't have a lieutenant position in the pay grade. So sergeant and lieutenant are paid the same, but the corporal is down.
Would you verify what the numbers are and then give that to us?
How long has Officer Bellamy been on the department?
Just past 5 years.
5 years, it's been 5 years.
And he's officer, not just what's right now? Just
He's corporal,
Corporal.
he's officer, corporal. He's been corporal a couple of years, maybe more.
and
Time flies.
and what are you asking for his
I'm asking for him to be promoted from the rank of corporal to that of sergeant.
sergeant?
Yes, sir. It's time. Joe Bellamy is a particularly good officer, all that criminal work that we do. He's always in the middle of that, generally taking the point. It's- You read in the Guard this past week, certainly it's a team effort. Brenda Moss is the one that finally said she thought she had that one fellow identified. That burglary ring that we got into. Yeah, particularly good folks, all of them. I think Joe Bellamy is not only deserving, but I just believe it's time.
How long has he been corporal?
Time gets away from you 2 or 3 years.
2 or 3 years.
Yes, at least that I can recall.
Okay, officer, a couple years, 2 or 3 years as corporal. Okay.
Yes, sir. He's school this week again. He's owns a home here, his family, involved in all the things that we'd like. There's just nothing not to like about it. He's more than deserving. I'd like to put that in play sooner rather than later. However it is we do that.
Chief, is he still in the National Guard?
He is. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, for any of those, I'm always,
Sir?
I'll get it later.
What?
well, for any of these, I'm always interested in what the impact of the budget is, so, Lynn, you'll get us that number for the next meeting, or electronically, email
I
it?
can have it to you all tomorrow.
Okay.
If you, that would suit me very well. And then we have to do that by ordinance. Are we gonna have enough folks at the next full ordinance?
There are lots of things.
Only
I'm
missing
sure also.
Don. Only missing Don, but I know so far.
And the mayor.
Mayor's gonna be gone.
Tim doesn't vote.
You have to have 4 aldermen casting ayes in order to pass an ordinance.
Unless we got time up.
Well, exactly,
Yeah.
that's it.
Well, yes, if there's, well, if one alderman is missing, then you can't have a tie vote. It would be 3-2.
And the ordinance would fail.
4-1 would do it,
Yes.
5-0 would do it, 3-2 doesn't.
One other thing, shouldn't be too labor intensive. If we're gonna have a quorum Monday night, I'd like to hire a part-time officer. I know some of us have disagreed in the past, but we're down one again, and just this evening, got one officer on trying to get by, and I can tell you just by the text messages, that's not feeding the bulldog. We can't do it. We cannot do it anymore. Can't even have one guy on Sunday mornings. It's not enough. Can't take the cost. I've got a guy in mind for it, married, has a job, moved to the area, he's come to Redden with us. I'd like to hire him as part-time for right now. And I'm gonna put him with, just tell you what I got up my sleeve, I'm gonna put him with Bradley Harris, 3 or 4 weeks, and then, he should be ready to go. He's an officer in North St. Louis County now. So, his wife is a pediatric RN, so she can't get a job. So, and they're both anxious to move to the area. Just tell me that's where we're at. I don't know what we need to do that. Forget. I haven't even called Heather yet to ask her to get the guy scheduled, but tell me that's what I got up my sleeve.
Well, and to understand, this is to replace someone who dropped off anyway. This isn't an addition.
It's not a new addition to the fleet. It's not an addition to the fleet, thank you for asking.
The last one we hired. Who was that?
Who left, chief?
Michael Slavings, he got resigned, he got sworn in the night that David Whitaker got sworn, remember that?
Okay.
I just wanted to point out, this isn't an
Yes,
addition to
that's
the rules,
true,
it's
and I
a
appreciate
replacement of an
that.
existing. Any questions about the part-time?
The procedure would be for the mayor to make an appointment, I guess. The mayor could make an appointment, a written appointment, you would still have to vote on it.
Sure. Mary, your thoughts?
Say that again?
Hang on.
What are your thoughts about making a written appointment for the part-time officer? So that we could vote on it on Monday?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll be back in town tomorrow afternoon and I'll talk to Lynn about it.
All right, thank you, sir. Anything else for police? Okay. Moving on to emergency management.
Short time ago, Scott Olson, one of his firemen from Boone County, who is specializing in emergency management, paid us a visit, talked about the plans coming now that that position is under the county. He is wearing 2 hats at the moment for that, so he has chief aide. They have numerous training plans that they want to implement. They've also been trying to update part of the general county emergency plan, which is some respects has some gaps. Contact people were out of date, and the format needs to be changed to comply with new federal outlines. So we met with Denny and I and the chief, and I provided him with an updated contact list. And I haven't had a chance to review the emergency management plan. It's got a lot to it, but I have tracked down, I believe, a floor plan for the rec center, which we will add to our list of emergency shelters. I'm not sure it's the best place for a tornado shelter. Those are the existing churches that we have identified, but as far as a place for mass casualties or just put cots in if part of the town was damaged by a tornado or something like that, it has a kitchen, has outlets so you can drive up a portable generator and keep the whole place running, has a lot of open space, so it's geared for that. They just don't have a floor plan on, they'll make that available.
Okay.
And there'll be more activities as they go on.
Sure, sure. Some more info to come.
Thanks.
Protective inspection.
Not a lot going on, no recent housing permits. Did issue the demolition permit for 535 South Allen, which is the second house up from Lakeview Street on the west side. Somewhat boarded up, it's been vacant for 4 or 5 years now. And has all of the utilities disconnected. And,
Is that that greenhouse?
it's green, but it's not the green and white one that has the veranda on it.
They're right next to Brian Harvey's.
That's the Parnell house, probably. It should be second,
not- it's-
second one back to Lakeview.
The one out from the
Instead
corner?
of Cornell's.
Second one house, well, there's a house on the corner, and then there's this one, then there's a good one, and then there's the house with the veranda that's similar.
Oh.
Yeah, not as bad a shape as this one.
I believe that Mr. England has been contracted to do the demolition, so once it gets started, it should go relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to other.
The cross is getting closer on hers.
Have the dedication needs one more pass through merit for the easement, I'll give it to you. And we're still working on the ordinance that would vacate the part of the easement crosswise that we no longer needed. Both of those can be taken up.
Is the utility poles in the back, are they coming out?
Yeah, I think everything will be underground.
That's Kurt asked me today.
Yeah,
Mike wants to try and get it all done before Bacas are in, but Bacas are already in.
Pretty close.
but, because that line runs across the back, and that's why it's gonna be vacated and come off the side.
Yeah, but then when the utility poles down back, we can talk about that.
Well, at least the northwest, the west one will, the east one, I think will, I don't think there's anything else on it there.
I guess Creddy didn't hear your report, but I mentioned that I've heard several comments that the new location seems to be working well for the Chevy company, because they couldn't even get open and they had people wandering around the lot wanting to buy cars. Can't beat that.
I did talk to Brad, he's been pleased with the people in there just checking it out, obviously, they're getting more traffic.
Good.
Now we gotta find someplace to take the slack on the old side.
Knox box on today, he had it keyed up, so
They gotta get it.
it's locked up now.
Okay. One more thing. Don asked me about it. The Special Road District has an interest in purchasing our oldest backhoe when we get the new replacement, which now seems to not be happening until November. That, as you recall, we were intending to put it up for someplace that would have a regional interest. There are good reasons that we should negotiate a fair price with a local fellow government that we interact with frequently, but I didn't give any assurances that would happen. I wanted to make your minds about what you have in mind. Because Mike tells me that he's had inquiries from several other people that also, no matter what condition, would be interested in it.
Well,
Nothing new.
Tim Crispin called me about it, and he said that they are interested in it. Right now, they don't have one. They use our hole and our people when they need something.
Yes.
But then they do things for us in return, so it's a trade-off in time and equipment. So I don't have any problem with that. But if they have one, then there's less time that they would need to take one of our operators out there. That's not necessarily a bad thing that they do that, but it does take them away from our working times. So I certainly have no problem with it. I have no problem with the present arrangement. If they're inclined to buy it, I'd be inclined to
If we do it in auction, you need to do more than just, forgive me, James, and add in the local paper. It needs to be advertised in such a way that we have regional interest, and/or we take it to a regional auction where people are actually auctioneering.
Sure.
I don't have a good sense on what would bring a
Well,
negotiated price anyway.
we gotta see what it's worth.
I don't know what it's worth, I have no idea, but I'm sure that it wouldn't be that hard to figure something out. Get an appraisal of some sort on it.
We got a couple months.
Hey, Mr. Tim, is there any way to get a trade-in value on the backhoe?
Well, I'm sure we can get that from the dealer, but I doubt that is,
That's not fair market.
that's not fair market value, because
Oh, okay.
they will always figure on, working on that. They aren't gonna just take it and put it out there with no work on it. They're gonna do something to it, and so,
Right.
and service it.
Thanks.
Let me throw one more thing into this. If we were to negotiate to sell it, whatever the price was, I'd like to kind of leverage that a little, because I've asked, and it wasn't really high on their priority list, I've asked if we could set up a template for how we handle territorial agreements in the future. Instead of saying we have X property, what's it going to take to buy the territorial service for that, which would happen with any annexation now, or almost any. It's always been whatever they think is fair and take it or leave it. If we could arrange some sort of contract that's said that going forward, each lot would be evaluated as X number of residences per acre, or something like that, instead of value that's predictable in advance. They would know about it, we would know about it, and it would be a little bit easier to handle city expansion, which is desirable in my mind. Whether they would even want to link those two, I don't know.
I mean, did they have a clue what they wanted to offer for it?
No. And
I don't know, in my opinion, I think we ought to put it up in bid. I mean, get the most out of it we can.
Well, there are advantages to letting them have it and then not having as many personnel use it. So there will be some cost savings for us in the future on it, for them having it. So that, and getting the highest dollar out of it might actually be more expensive than letting them have it for a cheaper value where our people are in there.
Right now, what we're getting out of it, I think, although we haven't made use of it so far this summer, which is slightly aggravating, is they have this striping machine. We have the paint, we just can't find the time to put it down because people keep getting sick and we keep building these storm sewer inlets and keeps pushing one down.
Gonna have to be done before too long.
Yeah, it does need.
Columbia out there at school needs it bad.
We have the paint, we have the glass beads. They'll help a little in nighttime. Not sure they help that much in the rain, but.
So I'll leave it with you. Folks, over here. Thank you all for
I don't hear,
Talk to you tomorrow.
Consensus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
so let me ask again next Monday. If anybody's mind changes, let me know, otherwise the default position is put it up for bid. And or find a regional auction like Columbia or Macon or someplace that specializes in contractors' equipment.
Haven't they exchanged labor or not?
Yes.
I mean,
Oh, we've always helped them and they've helped us, and we don't keep.
keep
us-
score.
No.
Right.
I mean, we were so closely tied to them. Bear in mind, you pay a tax to the special road district. We used
I
to even
understand
pay.
that, it just seems like it'd be awful nice when our people aren't showing up to work, if they haven't got a whole lot to do, that we could call on them on occasion if we're swapping labor back and forth.
If it were predictable. it
Well,
would
but
be.
they only have 3 employees total, which means that if it takes 2 people to do something, and they don't have an employee, they've got problems too. And some of the stuff takes all 3 of them to do. But I do like about the idea of selling it to them, even if we don't make as much money off of it.
Oh,
It doesn't tax our